Drivers and Danica, start your engines!
Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, NHRA, and local dirt track and drag strip racing talk. This is the fastest hour in radio.
Where'd you go? Where's your home? How'd you end up all alone? Can you hear me now? Hear me.
Here's your host, Steve West and Dustin Harmer, with producer John Myers.
Welcome in to another weekend here at Superstation 101 and the fastest hour in radio.
Yeah.
The man, after 2 weeks of being on the phone, intermittent levels, is Dustin Harmer. How are you?
I am, I feel good. It's back here in the
Rested,
studio.
relaxed?
Rested, relaxed. I feel great. I feel better than I've felt in a long time.
I would say tan, but you went to Maryland, so that's kind of a difficult thing to do, to go to Maryland and get a tan.
It is.
So we'll just not worry about that part of it.
Yeah.
As long as you're relaxed.
I'm fully relaxed. I'm just glad to be back. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very, very well. We had present day up here at the radio station on a couple of levels.
Yeah.
You brought a present down.
Yes, I did. Big thanks. Had a great time up in Maryland, of course. And my buddy, Mark Turnbull, works at the Department of Public Works up in Elkton, Maryland. And so I was hanging out with him over at his shop, his office, and he makes the signs and stuff like that. And I said, man, I'd love to make a sign. So we made a sign. Now we got a sign.
That's right. When we get done with this show, we're going to do the After the Show show. We'll show you the sign that we're talking about. Coming up during the After the Show show, you'll be able to see it on the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Fastest Hour in Radio.
So can we actually call this the fastest hour in radio studio right now?
We're going to.
That's right.
All right. Over there, running the board, making sure everything sounds as good as, well, he can possibly make us sound. It's John Myers. Hi, John.
Good morning, sir.
Everything good, sir?
Absolutely, positively.
Wonderful.
110% good.
When we were kids and we wanted to go outside and play, but it was raining, we always sang the phrase, rain, rain, go away, come again another day.
Yeah.
We heard that a lot around Pocono this past weekend.
The rain in Pocono is just it's kind of the territory.
Yeah, kind of is. Mother Nature had some other ideas. They got in a shortened practice for the Sprint Cup Series Friday a week ago, and qualifying for the Xfinity Series was rained out, which led to the field going in on owners' points. Rain also shortened Saturday's Xfinity Series event. When NASCAR finally showed the red flag and then called the event, you had a moonlighter. Kyle Larson got credited with the win. There's a part of me that would still like to excuse it, but I said by the time 2016 comes around, I'm not going to do it anymore for Kyle Larson.
Nope.
So, Kyle Larson, you're simply a moonlighter going down there and grabbing stuff that should be Xfinity Series drivers.
Exactly.
Races.
Like it.
Race was just past the halfway point. 53 of the 100 scheduled laps had been run when the rains came. Larson becomes, by the way, an answer to a trivia question. Who won the first ever Xfinity or secondary series race at Pocono in NASCAR history? It's Kyle Larson.
Huh.
Eric Jones claims second, trailed by Ty Dillon. Moonlighters Kyle Busch and Joey Logano wrap up the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Elliott Sadler, Moonlighter Paul Menard, Brandon Jones, Daniel Suarez, and Alex Bowman. So your updated Xfinity standings continue with the winners, as they were, obviously, Eric Jones, Elliott Sadler. The rest of your top 12 is made up of the non-winners, and that leads off with Daniel Suarez. Ty Dillon follows, then Brendan Gaughan, Brandon Jones. Finally broke up the Brandon, and Brennan team. Justin Allgaier. Not a good day for Justin Allgaier.
No.
Drops down 3 spots in points, followed by Brennan Poole, Darrell Bubba Wallace Jr., Ryan Reed, Blake Cook, and Ryan Sieg make up your top 12 as it is right now. NASCAR, by the way, I've had a couple of people ask me about this.
Okay.
We know that there is a chase going on. We explained it earlier on when they finally approved it, how many people are going to be in the chase. We know 16 in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Yes.
You drop down to the Xfinity Series, 12 drivers make it in. Go down to the Camping World Truck Series, 8 drivers make it in.
I tell you what, and this is a guy this year great to see him having such a rebounding season. And that's Elliott Sadler grabbing the win at Talladega a couple weeks ago. Doing so well. This is exactly what he needed. I was kind of talking to somebody one time, and he was great over at KHI. Running for a championship.
Sure.
Then goes over with JGR. Doesn't have a great time over there,
which is actually kind of surprising. You think about the dominance of a Joe Gibbs Racing, and for whatever reason, it didn't really translate for Elliott.
It didn't. But you put him back in a bow tie for Junior Motorsports, and he's on fire this year. Great job to him.
By the way, you can call in 941-1011, toll free 866-551-9933, or if you just feel like being a little more anonymous, get a hold of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thefastesthour in radio, or elsewhere.
You can hit us up on Twitter at Fastest Hour. Make sure you're following us on Instagram as well at Fastest Hour.
Yep, would love to hear from you here as we go throughout the morning. We'll be on until 8:30 a.m. That's Central Time for those of you that are listening online or somewhere else around the world.
Yes.
Later Saturday afternoon, no such rain problems plaguing the first of the Duel in Detroit doubleheaders for the Verizon IndyCar Series. And Simon Pagenaud, after apparently form interrupted only by the Indy 500 win by Alexander Rossi, claimed the pole for the first and, as it turned out, the second doubleheader, but he wasn't able to claim either win. The winner of Saturday's race was actually able to extend his current driver-high number of road course wins. 30 wins for Sebastian Bourdais in his career on road courses in the Verizon IndyCar Series. He also now moves into a tie with Bobby Unser on IndyCar's all-time wins list, 35 apiece. So you think about it. The man's got 35 wins. 30 of the 35 are on road courses.
Well, that's the great thing. That's the one thing I really like about IndyCar is the fact that they run the road courses, they run the ovals, but you got those guys that are just a little bit better on the ovals. You got those guys that are a little bit better on the road courses. So you could actually be a guy that could come in, not have the greatest time on the ovals like Sebastian Bourdais, but he can do great on these road courses. Yeah. He does have some wins on the ovals and all, but I mean, as in...
By and large, he's a road course guy.
He is. But that's the great thing because it levels the playing field. You can come in and be good at either or. I mean, that's just how IndyCar works. That's the great thing I think I like about it the most.
The KVSH racing driver was called in by his crew only on the third lap. They decided to go from the soft to the medium tires. And keep in mind, in IndyCar and Formula One, you have to run each of the two sets of compounds, unless it's raining, that you brought for that particular track at least one time. Well, they decided that, the softs are going to go quickly. We're going to go to the medium, longer-lasting tires and stayed on those kind of tires the rest of the race and played pit strategy to perfection. It's a strategy that went against what Penske drivers, who are actually holding the first four positions at the halfway point, did. Second turned out to be Dale Coyne Racing driver Connor Daly, then followed by Juan Pablo Montoya, Graham Rahal, Elio Castroneves, Carlos Munoz, more on him later, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Charlie Kimball, Tony Kanaan, and then Alexander Rossi, who backed up his win at Indy with third top 10 of the season at Detroit. Alexander suddenly is making me wonder why in the world did Manor decide to go with Rio Haryanto instead of Alexander Rossi in Formula One, because this guy's come over here. He's quickly adapted within the first half of the season. He's got a win. He's got 3 top 10s. You couldn't ask for anything more. Well,
I mean, and the thing for him over in Formula One was the fact that he just didn't seem like he had a lot of self-confidence. Like, he's a driver. He can go out there and do it. But over here...
Here's the thing, though. When we saw him, he finished 5 of the last 6 races for Manor Marussia.
Yes.
And he consistently, in each and every one of those, he beat his teammate. Now, he's in Manor equipment. I mean, it's not like he's going up there competing for top 10s in Manor equipment.
Right.
But he's consistently beating his teammate, who was a veteran. I mean, that to me said something.
It did.
But
yet
it didn't tell them. Manor apparently had no clue. Yeah. They kept him around as a reserve driver so he can do some practices for them still. But here's the thing. If I'm Alexander Rossi, I'm starting to kick butt over at IndyCar. I'm like, forget you guys.
You know who's really kicking themselves in the butt right now? Manor. Letting someone go like that. But this is great for him because it gives him a chance to get out there and shine the way that we know Alexander Rossi can. He's in great equipment now. He's out there doing what he does best, and that's making Manor just feel like complete morons. So congratulations to the Moron of the week.
We will get into the points coming up after we detail the second duel in Detroit race. So let's move on to Sunday, where rain washed out the plans for the Sprint Cup Series. So IndyCar had Sunday all to itself, despite an error during qualifying that nullified a track record for Will Power, giving Simon Pagenaud his second pole of the weekend. Will Power put all that frustration behind him, or he put it to good use. I'm not sure which. Either way, he claimed the win, and this is his first win in more than a year.
So
He edged
weird.
Pagenaud by less than a second at the line. We don't normally see in open wheel racing something that is that close unless you're at a track like the Indy 500.
Yeah.
In this case, to have it on a road course where you have less than a second gap between first and second, that's an impressive race.
It is. Great for willpower. Weird to say that, first win in so long.
I know.
But to the way that it was done, I don't know what it is, but this year has been weird for IndyCar. We've just seen so many new things, so many great finishes and everything else. This is the season. This is the rebound that everybody was waiting for.
And we're seeing a resurgence in Honda.
Yes.
Because the Honda cars had been dominated since Chevrolet came back in 2012.
Yes.
We had pretty much really not heard of them except for maybe rain-shortened races.
Yeah.
Now they're actually competing each and every week for wins at all these different tracks, and I love it. And now we get a guy like Will Power back in victory lane. That's his finally 26th win of his career, his first since the Indy Grand Prix back last year. His pole time, by the way, was disallowed as IndyCar penalized him for interference with another driver. The penalty negated his 2 fastest laps, so it dropped him down from the pole position to 8th starting position. With 18 laps to go, just after a restart, Power got by Pagenaud, claiming 5th, knowing that the first 4 drivers were all going to need to pit before the checkers, so he did not worry about that. So let them all just happen to go on in, and he just made sure that Simon Pagenaud stayed in his rearview mirror. Following the front 2 were Ryan Hunter-Reay, Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Connor Daly, Tony Kanaan, Sebastian Bourdais, Marco Andretti, and Takuma Sato getting a top 10 for AJ Foyt Racing. Mm-hmm. So following the weekend, now Pagenaud holds an 80-point lead over Scott Dixon. Elio Castroneves is third in points, 86 down. Joseph Newgarden, 98 behind. Alexander Rossi, because of his good weekend, jumps up to 5th in the standings, 115 points back. Rest of your top 10 in points, Carlos Munoz, Will Power up to 7th now. Tony Kanaan, Juan Pablo Montoya jumps up 1 position from 10th to 9th, dropping Charlie Kimball down to 10th, 130 points from the lead. You think about the names that we're looking at here in the second half of this. Tony Kanaan, a former Indy 500 winner. Juan Pablo Montoya, who has got a couple of Indy 500s to his name. Charlie Kimball, who we've talked about a good bit. Will Power. All of those guys are in the second half. You would expect a Scott Dixon. You would expect a Elio Castroneves. Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi.
That's what I said a few minutes ago. This season has been absolutely spectacular thus far for IndyCar. We're seeing a lot of names that we don't normally see in different positions. This has been I love this year. This has been the year. We were talking about it. Everybody's kind of like, this is kind of happening, that's kind of happening. But this resurgence that we are having with IndyCar is amazing, and I want it to continue so bad right now.
I love it. That's good stuff. 2 events were delayed from Sunday to Monday. The first one to get going was the Sprint Cup Series. The rain finally relented on Monday. As a matter of fact, you couldn't really have told on Monday that it had been raining on Sunday. It was a picture-perfect day.
Yeah, it was weird.
So anyway, when all was said and done, a 9th driver added his name to the list of 2016 winners. Stewart-Haas Racing driver Kurt Busch found his way to victory lane. He was on kind of a fuel-saving strategy. On his final tank of fuel, he did all he could, including, he said, shutting off the engine through the turns and refiring it going back down the straights on that triangular course.
That was nuts.
That tells me that he had a fairly decent lead.
He did. But the thing about it was the way he was doing it. We've seen it happen before where these guys shut their engines off. They can't get them refired.
Right.
So, I mean, you
got to be real careful.
You have to. And that was the thing. He timed it perfectly. He kept that lead, but he was able to stretch it out. And it's one thing to be able to do it in other places, but to be able to do it at Pocono.
Yeah, where these long straightaways almost insist you mat it.
You have got to have that foot to the floor. And to have the caliber people that you've got behind you, and you're able to do that, it just speaks volumes.
Pocono Raceway, 2.5 mile long triangular track, again with very, very long straightaways. When they came out after that final pit stop, he was initially told he was 2 laps short.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? A gallon of gas in a NASCAR car is not going to get you 5 miles. It's going to get you about 4.5.
Yeah.
So that's how much he saved over that final run, was 2 laps worth of gas. That's a not insignificant hurdle to jump over.
Yeah, it's dare I say, unheard of
Almost.
at Pocono.
Yeah, almost.
But for him to be able to do that was just, it was epic.
All the other drivers, kind of like Alexander Rossi at the Indy 500, all the other drivers jumped in, did splash and goes, and they were starting to make up ground, but Busch finally was told with about a lap to go to let it all hang out, and it was more than enough, had enough for a celebratory burnout, and was actually able to drive under his own power to victory lane, something that Alexander Rossi doesn't know anything about. Dale Earnhardt Jr. ended up second, trailed by Brad Keselowski. Chase Elliott, Joey Logano was fifth. Casey Kane sixth. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, and Ryan Blaney all wrap up inside the top 10. So now you have 9 drivers that are winners and effectively all but in the chase for the Sprint Cup Championship. The others who are inside the top 16 in points who do not have wins starts with the rookie, Chase Elliott.
Love that. Great job for him so far.
Kid just continues to impress.
He does.
But he's got a challenger. We'll get to him in a second. Joey Logano also there. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Austin Dillon, Jamie McMurray, the other big-time impressive rookie, Ryan Blaney. Now, here comes the question.
Okay.
And I don't mean any disrespect to Chase Elliott or his abilities, but we obviously know he took over the number 24 from Hendrick Motorsports that Jeff Gordon used to drive.
Yes.
This is a good car with a good organization and a good driver.
And that's all the things you need for a winning combination.
Is his run, though, more impressive than Ryan Blaney? I understand Ryan Blaney, he is running what is effectively a Team Penske car, but he's running it for the Wood Brothers organization, which is a single-car operation. While he can talk to Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano, it's not like he's got them day in and day out throughout the course of the week to be able to lean on. They're in their own shop in Stewart, Virginia, away from where Team Penske is housed.
When you look at it and you break it down in that aspect, when you look at the fact of what Chase has team-wise, what he's got in his corner, and then you look at what you got in Ryan Blaney's corner, I think you got to move that bubble. That edge has got to be moved over to Ryan Blaney.
Yeah.
He's being a wheel man. He's going out there constantly week after week and doing what he has to do as that single car operation. You're right, though. He gets to talk to Joey Logano. He gets to talk to Brad Keselowski. Chase has got all the people he can talk to, but he's got that equipment.
He's got him right there in the shop, and he's got all the equipment that Hendrick Motorsports is so good at.
Yes.
But that said, I think, me personally, this is my prediction, I think Chase Elliott does, in the end, become your Sunoco Rookie of the Year.
Purely off of the fact of equipment.
Yeah, I mean, just because he's got that enough of an edge to be able to talk to Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Casey Kane and glean what he can and be in that good equipment. But I'm here to tell you right now, I'm more impressed with Ryan Blaney.
I am. I'm extremely impressed with Ryan Blaney. I gotta agree with you on that one.
By the way, Ryan Newman rounds out the top 16. Tony Stewart was involved in a wreck with less than 50 laps to go, drops him down to 34th place result. That dropped into 35th in the standings. He sits 71 points behind 30th place David Reagan. But he's at Michigan this weekend and had a nice qualifying run. How nice? He'll roll off third.
That is
tomorrow.
awesome.
And he said in an interview he has no pain in his back. As a matter of fact, he was out doing yard work at his place in North Carolina and felt no pain whatsoever. So now if he can get from the no pain to the I'm getting out there and I'm going to kick everybody's butt again, maybe he could do something.
Well, it also depends on people that are around him that do stupid moves as well.
Good point.
You know,
a lot of people, and I will say this, a lot of people took a whole lot of blame to Danica Patrick for this. I watched the video. She didn't hit him. What she did was she took the air off of that back spoiler. Yeah. Anybody could have been in her position that had done that.
Yes.
So while you can blame Danica Patrick because she was the person that took the air off the spoiler, there was no intention there, obviously.
Yeah, but, anytime anything surrounds that 10 car...
It does seem to be a magnet for bad things.
It's one of those things where if you look and your spotter tells you in your rearview mirror you've got the 10 or you're coming up on the 10, you are holding your breath the entire time that you are around her or attempting to pass her.
I wonder what was being said on Tony Stewart's radio. Hey, by the way, watch out. Danica's on the back corner. Oh, no, dang it, you're in the wall.
We need to hear the radioactive.
I have to admit, I had not heard that this week.
I'm going to have to go look that up and just see what good old Smoke had to say. But, his qualifying session here at Michigan was great. But look at Pocono, looking back for just a second. Pocono qualifying was
top 10
weird.
Qualifying run.
Yeah.
So he had a top 10 qualifying run, and he was running up in the top 10 for the vast majority of the race until round of pit stops, and then it was green flag pit stops that kind of shoved him back into that particular area. He hadn't quite got back up to speed yet.
It was weird, though. That qualifying session what was extremely different than what I'm used to. I mean, a lot of drivers you're seeing not doing as well as the rest of them. You see guys like Kevin Harvick. He doesn't qualify well at Pocono.
I think this new aero package has become an equalizer.
It has, and that's exactly where I was going to, is that the fact that we're seeing such a difference now with these packages, how they've done it, that we're actually seeing all these guys kind of be on that same page now.
Yep.
They're all on the same level. Now it's you have to go out and drive the car. The car doesn't drive itself. You have to drive the car.
Exactly. And I like that. That's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
The weather that plagued Pocono on Sunday also plagued up in New England, where the NHRA was trying to get in the New England Nationals, so they delayed that until Monday. Once they got underway, your winners, Antron Brown and Top Fuel outgunned Steve Torrance, ran a 3.769 elapsed time at 314.61 miles per hour.
Wow.
Gosh, that's quick. Yeah. In Funny Car, Ron Capps was your winner, a 3.923 elapsed time, 325.61 miles per hour. Okay, so you're sitting there thinking, this other guy went faster time, but he was slower on the miles per hour. Well, welcome to drag racing, where if it takes you a little bit longer, you actually have more time to build up more speed at the end of the track. It's kind of strange how that works, but yeah, it does.
It is, but it's great.
It is. It's fun. Ron Capps in the end with that 3.923 at 325.61 miles per hour was the better of Tommy Johnson Jr. Greg Anderson beat out Alan Johnson in Pro Stock, running a 6.598 elapsed time, 210.44 miles per hour. All this at 1,000 feet. Gosh. And in Top Fuel Harley, Jay Turner, your winner over Ty Tharp, T-I-I. I'm assuming it's Ty. If not, late model Marco, call in and correct me.
He will do that.
Jay Turner posted a 6.292 ETA at 223.32 miles per hour. I can't fathom 200 plus miles per hour on a motorcycle.
Nope, not for me. Not going to do it. In a car? Sure, no problem.
John's over there acting like he's in paradise.
He would be.
Oh, no. No, John does not get over 90 on a bike.
No, there's no way. No.
Yeah.
Those guys are...
all the respect in the world, man. All the respect in the world.
Way respect.
Updated points. Top Fuel, Doug Coletta up 46 points on Antron Brown. Steve Torrance is 127 back. Brittany Force, 162 out of the lead. Tony Schumacher is in the top 5 in Top Fuel, but he's 302 points down. Courtney Force continues to show the way in Funny Car. Jack Beckman's 15 points back. Ron Capps is now within 22 points of the lead. Tim Wilkerson, 46 out, and Del Worship, 96 behind. That is by far the closest points race in all of the NHRA series that we follow. Jason Line, this is how much the change is. Jason Line continues to lead Pro Stock. 89-point lead over second place Greg Anderson. Third place, 346 back. Alan Johnson is fourth, 467 back. And Drew Skillman in fifth, 529 points back.
Yeah, you might as well just pack it up.
And it took me a while, but I finally figured out where the Top Fuel Harley points were. They don't run that often, by the way. They shake down. Len Darnell Jr. is up 28 points on the aforementioned and winner, Jay Turner. Charles Pellrine is 100 out, Kevin Boyer 105 behind, and Ron Gledhill is 130 points back. We'll keep an eye on that for you, in addition to Pro Stock Motorcycle, which happened to have been off last weekend. We'll make sure that you keep up to date on all that.
There is so much out there.
There is. There really is. Last night, this weekend of racing got underway. Camping World Truck Series was back in action, running the Rattlesnake 400 at Texas Motor Speedway. They're paired up with the Verizon IndyCar Series this weekend. Now, Matt Crafton dominated the event for the most part, but he couldn't hold off William Byron in the final lap, so Crafton had to settle for second. Byron gets his second win of his young career, the second this season. Trailing Crafton inside the top 5, Johnny Sauter, Ben Kennedy with a nice run for his new team, and Tyler Reddick. Rest of your top 10, Timothy Peters, then John Hunter Nemechek. You got Erman Quiroga finishing 8th. He claimed a top 10 in his first Camping World Truck Series race since 2014. We don't know what he was doing last year, but it wasn't racing in the Camping World Truck Series.
Yeah, it's a little weird to hear his name back in the mix, but right up top there.
Then there was the tale of Rico Abreu.
Yes.
Rico followed William Byron around Matt Crafton within those final few laps, and he was actually starting to battle for the win, but something happened. He got loose, whatever it was. His truck ends up hitting the outside wall with 2 laps to go. The result, unfortunately, was that he cut down a tire on the final lap. He had to limp home his truck to a 9th place finish. I feel for the guy because it looked like he actually could have gotten by William Byron.
He had a rocket, and had it not been for something happening, it could have been extremely interesting coming to the finish.
Really could have. Daniel Hemrick rounds out your top 10. No new winners now in the Camping World Truck Series. Their season-ending chase has Crafton, Byron, John Hunter Nemechek, and Johnny Sauter all in. The other 4 drivers who are inside in points at this time, Timothy Peters, Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Reddick, and Spencer Gallagher. Ben Kennedy and Ryan Truex Jr. Just on the outside looking in within 16 points of getting inside the chase. So a lot could change between now, obviously, and the end of the season as they start to race on a much more consistent basis now as well.
Yes.
So today's schedule starts off with the Xfinity Series. They get the on-track action underway with the Menards 250 presented by Valvoline. Michigan International Speedway is the place. Coverage on Fox Sports 1 and the Motor Racing Network starts at 1 p.m. Eastern and noon Central Time. Tonight, Verizon Indycar Series is going to take to Texas Motor Speedway. That series' longest race of the year, equaling the Coca-Cola 600. It's called the Firestone 600 for the IMS guys, and airs on the NBC Sports Network and the IMS Radio Network. Starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. That'll go well into the evening.
Oh, extremely into the evening.
Congratulations to Carlos Munoz, who locked down his first ever IndyCar pole position. Scott Dixon will start on the outside of the front row in tonight's event.
That should be interesting.
Should be. Sunday, Sprint Cup Series gets their first visit to Michigan International Speedway going this year with the Firekeepers Casino 400. I didn't even know that was the name of a casino.
I did not either.
Coverage will be on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. Starts at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. Joey Logano nails down another 2016 pole position, and quasi-teammate from Furniture Row Racing, Martin Truex Jr., sits on the outside of the front row. Right about the time the actual green flag drops for the Sprint Cup Series, Formula One coverage will get underway for the Canadian Grand Prix. They're going to run at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the 14-turn, 2.7-mile-long road course up in Montreal, Canada. Coverage on the NBC Sports Network starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Time. And we're still not done, because the final event of the weekend will be the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series. They're running the Summer Nationals. That's at Old Bridge Township Raceway Park in Englishtown, New Jersey. Joyzy. The garbage state. Oh, sorry. The final's going to air on Fox Sports 1 live Sunday afternoon beginning at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Central Time, or after coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race, whichever happens last.
In other words, it's a very busy weekend.
Yes, tomorrow will be a very busy day. And
a lot of
people who like racing of all different kinds are going to be using the multi-channel or the return button or wearing out the channel changing.
Oh, I've got it. I'll have all my stuff plugged in. I'll have the laptop going, following IndyCar. I'll have the phone going. I'll have everything. I'll look like I have a command center.
I'm looking forward to it, actually. It's going to be a lot of fun. I like the Canadian Grand Prix as well. When we come back, we'll get into the news here, and another crew chief's been nailed on lug nuts.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's actually only one. We'll get to that coming up in just a moment. Stay close. The fastest hour in radio will continue.
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Let's face it, it's always been hard to kick the smoking habit until now. Don't wait to take the next step of pulling away from the pack. Experience the healthier alternative of smoking by vaping with Wild Vapors. Whether you're taking the turn or coming along in the straightaway, it's time to hit the deep brakes on cigarettes and turn into Wild Vapors. Wild Vapors is known for their signature formula for their own brands. They only use the purest vaping juice on the circuit without sucralose or diacetyl. Stop filling up your tank with the wrong fuel and swap to the healthier, cleaner solution through Wild Vapors. The crew at Wild Vapors is there to answer your questions and concerns about vaping. They're the reliable team you need as your pit crew when taking the turn towards the healthier alternative to cigarettes. They offer a full line of vaping supplies and guidance to help you quit cigarettes without falling off the track. Make sure you miss the big one by ditching the cigarettes and stop in at Wild Vapors. Find the healthier alternative to smoking. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors of Sylacauga today. 256-369-2569. Find them in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
I'm Joey Logano, driver number 22 Discount Tire Ford Mustang. Underinflated tires put your car out of tune. But with properly inflated and maintained tires, your car could be in sync and ready to rock. Keep your car humming along smoothly by checking tire pressure each month and before every long journey. You'll enjoy a better ride, better gas mileage, and get the most out of your tires.
For more information, visit betiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Back to green flag action on the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in. You are listening to the fastest hour in radio here, Superstation 101 WYDE. Late model Mark apparently has loaded up and ready to fire.
Someone's been drinking coffee.
Yeah, apparently. Hang on, late model Mark. We got one bit of business that we need to take care of because we cannot do what we do without the help of sponsors. It's like all kinds of racing at all different levels, whether it's the Sprint Cup Series, Verizon Indycar Series, Formula One, NHRA, any other form of racing that you're talking about. They all have to have their sponsors.
You need
that's
them.
Also true in radio and for this show right here, and we have one of the best in Wild Vapors.
That's right. We have the best of the best. We've been telling you each and every week for months now how you can put those cigarettes down and get away from that nastiness that you've been experiencing for so long, and time to get that healthy alternative. Get yourself back in order. Get yourself smelling good. Get your wife to actually want to kiss you again instead of kissing an ashtray. That we talked about that at Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I've heard that phrase on more than one occasion.
Yeah. But, we talk about them, how they're knowledgeable. We talk about the fact that when you walk out of there, you're going to have a working mod, whatever the case may be, whether you're a beginner, advanced, whatever level you're at, you're going to be able to go into this shop and you're going to be able to walk out knowing you're getting a quality product from our great friends, Eddie and Shelly Bowman at Wild Vapors. In Sylacauga in the Walmart Shopping Center, in Alexander City, one block up from Central Alabama Community College. Give them a call today. Pick their brain a little bit. Talk about vaping. If you're thinking about it, you're on the fence, don't be on the fence anymore. Jump to the right side of the fence and give them a call.
Well, and if you have questions, call them up, grill them.
Yeah.
They'll spend time on the phone with you and answer all the questions that you've got. Any concerns that you've got, they'll take the time to answer them.
And not only will they answer the questions, they're going to show you in black and white in front of your face, if you're there, all of the information, because Shelly and Eddie are extremely devoted. They were former smokers before. They went to vaping. They know what it can do for you. And not only are they into that fact, but they're also into the fact that they want to make sure that you've got the best juice line out there to make sure that it doesn't have any sucralose, diacetyl, none of that extra crap that you don't need in your juice. That's going to hurt you more that these people just put in and they really just don't care. Wild
It's
Vapors
a quick
cares.
solution to make the flavor tasty.
Right, but if you take the time to get to get it down packed the way that they do, they come up with some great, delicious flavors. I think I've got cotton candy in mine right now.
What are you doing,
John's got. What do you got, bud?
Effing amazing.
That's right.
Oh yeah, the line of juices that they're going to be coming out with when they go national with their juice line. But you can give them a call today, and you can ask them anything you want. 256-369-2569. Check them out on Facebook as well, facebook.com/wild.vapors.5. But like I said, give them a call, 256-369-2569. Stop in today. Today is Saturday, so they'll be open till 8. They're open Monday through Saturday. That is, Monday is their early day, so they're open 12 to 6, but every other day of the week besides Sunday, you can go in there 10 to 8 and check them out. Remember, Walmart Shopping Center in Sylacauga or in Alexander City, one block up from Central Alabama Community College. Stay on track with our good friends and great sponsor, Wild Vapors.
All right. With that said, we come in and wonder if we've said anything wrong when it came to the NHRA.
Wasn't me.
And if we did, I will be the first person to fall on the sword because it probably was me. So, ammo, according to what I've got, ammoed for bear and ready to unload. Late model Mark, what the heck does that mean?
Well, first off, I wanted to say, Dustin, that was pretty funny what you said about the Wild Vapors place, about you kissing your girlfriend or wife and smelling like an ashtray. Sometimes I think I think Mrs. Late Model Mark, when I come home and give her a smooch, the smell of potato chips is in the air. But
You've been eating them chips again, haven't you?
Question is what flavor?
A sweet heat.
Oh, okay.
I love those ones.
Because I'm such a sweet guy and warm at the same time because the outside temperature stinks.
Yeah. Welcome to it.
I got to get the boots on. Hold on.
Now, a couple things here, gentlemen. Both you, Steve, Dustin, in the NHRA, Pro Stock races the quarter mile. They race 1,320 feet. Just the nitro categories race 1,000 feet.
Oh. See, the continued learning process.
This is why we have Late Model Mark, because he keeps us in line.
Okay, well, that also helps explain the higher speed then, because you've got that much more distance to be able to build up that speed.
Right, and you can also run a slower TET and a slower mile per hour and still beat your competitor via being first off the line, which is called a hole shot.
That I do know.
Hey, I
know
remember that one. I saw that one. I was like, that's a hole shot. I was like, and then it came up on screen. I was like, yes, I learned again from Late Model Mark.
They're very good. Hey, just like, like when you talk about NASCAR when they're going, and I'm not talking about NASCAR, it's like when you say, they were at Pocono or they were at Daytona. It's the same thing that goes for, like, drag racing. Like this weekend, they're at Englishtown, gentlemen. You don't want to call it Raceway Park. You sound more on top of it when you call it Englishtown or E-Town. That is one of the most storied drag strips in the United States and arguably the most successful weekly drag strip, as they have a quarter-mile drag strip and next to it an eighth-mile drag strip, as well as motocross and jet ski racing. That place is busy 6 days a week. It's absolutely incredible.
I will say this, Late Model Mark, in my defense, I got Old Englishtown Raceway Park straight off the NHRA's website.
That's fine. But this is like lingo, man. You call it Englishtown.
Okay. I'll remember that for next week when we do the rundown.
But it is still in New Jersey.
Jersey.
Absolutely. And also this weekend, they started Thursday. They ran last night. And tonight at the world-famous Eldora Speedway, the Tony Stewart is the $100,000 to win Dirt Late Model Dream. So maybe next week you guys can say the results and tell the listeners who won the $100,000 bucks. And that event is really something else. They have separate shows on Thursday. They have 2 features on Thursday, 2 features on Friday, complete show on Saturday. But however, tonight, gentlemen and John, we have a very big event at the Talladega Short Track. I'm trying not to laugh, but I always feel like John gets left out, like he's like the last donut in the box of a dozen.
Yeah, that's about me. Yeah, that sums it up.
No one wants to eat the donut with strawberry sprinkles on it, but I'm not saying you're a sprinkle, John. But anyways,
you're a crueler.
Mark, you're digging in deeper by the second, buddy. I'm telling you,
dude. Seriously, Mark, drop the shovel, grab a ladder, get yourself out of the hole.
Anyways, the Southern All-Stars are coming in for their second appearance tonight at the Talladega Short Track for a very special event. Now, you boys have been around the South a long time. If you know your racing promoters, B.J. Parker was one of the most legendary promoters, and he was the originator of the Southern All-Star Dirt Series and the Southern All-Star Pavement Series.
Yes.
And many racing. We're having the B.J. Parker Memorial tonight.
Nice.
The Southern All-Stars. We're expecting well over 120 cars. It'll be a stout late model field. I'm going to do a little tribute to B.J. before the show gets going tonight. And it's really, really going to be a good one.
I actually have a little bit of experience because B.J. Parker was the promoter at Birmingham International Raceway for the last few years of it while I was the public address announcer out there. So, yeah, I know B.J. Parker well.
And his son-in-law is Lynn Preacher Phillips, who's our owner of our track. And his daughter is obviously Lynn's wife and the granddaughter Paige. They'll all be there, including Mrs. Parker herself. And it's quite a great evening. We're really expecting a stout field of cars. And it's $20 to get in because it's a special event. We're paying a whole lot of dough tonight.
Nice.
And we're going to have a heck of a field, and we're going to get rolling about 6:30 with the drivers' meeting and hot lap starting at 7. It's going to be a very exciting night. We're going to have a good crowd. Yeah, it's going to be hot, but what do you expect in Alabama in the summertime? But
well, where would you rather be, though, at the Hornet's Nest than on a Saturday night when it starts to get dark and cool off a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Boy, man, you just said it right there, sir. But, I didn't turn on your show until a few minutes after 7. I fell asleep halfway through it, as Matt Crafton worked his way through the field. Who won the truck race?
William Byron passed him with about 5 laps to go. Rico Abreu got by him as well, but Rico, unfortunately, in trying to claim the win in the Truck Series, ended up in the wall and cut a tire on the final lap, so he ended up finishing 9th. But William Byron, 18-year-old kid, ends up claiming his 2nd win of the year.
That's pretty cool, man. That is
good stuff.
Very awesome.
It was good racing, real good racing.
Especially when you can get Matt Crafton ahead of Matt Crafton.
Shoot, no kidding.
That ain't no joke right there.
There's nothing to sneeze at right there.
So, anyways, guys, I gotta roll. I'm still working, but Southern All Stars tonight at Talladega. Dirt Late Models rule. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds
Bye.
real good. Talladega Short Track is the place to be tonight. Make sure you go on out there. Southern All Stars in town. That's going to be a fantastic show.
Yeah, not just tonight, but every Saturday night.
Yeah, but if you get the chance to go check out the Southern All Stars, where you start to get drivers from all over the Southeast.
Oh, yeah.
Great place to go. If you've never been to the Hornet's Nest, you need to go. Check them out online. You can go to Facebook and look up Talladega Short Track or look up TalladegaShortTrack.com.
Yeah, and they're also on Twitter as well. Just look up, I think it's TST Hornet's Nest, I believe.
Oh, okay. Wow, they could fit all that in there?
Well, you gotta cut things down and abbreviate.
I know.
Acronyms.
That's why I said you can fit all that in there in a Twitter handle?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
All right. What are we up to now? 6 races since the whole lug nut thing? 5, 6 races? I forget.
Something like that.
But the new lug nut rules that demand that at the end of each race, all 5 lug nuts be quote-unquote reasonably tightened on all 4 wheels on Sprint Cup Series cars. It's bitten another crew chief. This time it's going to be Chip Ganassi Racing's Chad Johnston, who is the crew chief for Kyle Larson and the number 42 team. Ganassi has said that the team not going to appeal that suspension. This marks now the 4th crew chief who has been nailed on that new rule since it was instituted. I should read ahead in my own writings. 5 races ago. Kurt Busch was able to drive his number 41 to the win at Pocono this last weekend, despite his own crew chief, Tony Gibson, sitting out at Pocono because he was hit by the same rule the week before. So there's hope. 42 team engineer Phil Surgeon going to become the interim crew chief for this weekend. I wonder what would happen to Chad Johnston should Surgeon actually put the 42 into victory lane for Kyle Larson's first ever Sprint Cup Series win.
He would have to be probably sitting on pins and needles.
And Tony Stewart somewhere would be going, that's why I let him go.
Yep.
Moving on. Brad Keselowski in the number 2 Miller Lite Ford Fusion of Team Penske was hit with an in-race penalty last weekend for an unapproved body adjustment. It did not hinder Keselowski terribly. He rallied to a 3rd-place finish. One of his pit crew members apparently hip-checked the car just in front of the right side rear tire. It was caught on camera by Fox Sports 1 coverage. And here's where the fun begins. It was commented on by recently retired Cup Series racer Jeff Gordon.
This gets awesome.
Brad Keselowski apparently doesn't care for somebody who knows the ins and outs of what goes on up and down pit road and being able to comment on it, because he lashed out at the 4-time Cup Series champion saying, quote, that's because Jeff Gordon is in the booth. They need to get some people that are not inbred to the sport and own teams and have internal knowledge, because that's pretty crappy. It is what it is. And Brad Keselowski, much worse than what late model Mark was doing, continued to go with the shovel instead of the ladder and tried to dig himself out of the hole, which didn't work. He said, quote, it's not that I don't like Jeff Gordon in the booth. It's just that you need to have people in the booth that don't own teams or have commercial interest in the sport, because they say things that are very biased. Jeff Gordon does have an allegiance to Hendrick Motorsports.
Well,
this is true.
He owns half.
He owns half of the 48 car.
Yeah.
He just last year drove the 24 car, and to see it doing well, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, folks, when you see a crew member hip check the car, creating an unapproved body change, you call it out.
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. That's what Jeff Gordon is supposed to do in the booth. Now.
That's what he was hired to do.
Yeah, that's what he's supposed to do. Now.
That's what, and for that matter, that's what Darrell Waltrip and Michael Waltrip and, Dale Jarrett and Rusty Wallace and whatever other former driver that is in the radio or television booth is paid to go do.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It would basically have to be the fact you'd have to see somebody from the 24 crew or Hendrick as a whole or the 48 crew do the same thing, and for him to call it out before basically it's, oh, yeah, that bias just went right out the window.
Yeah. Jeff Gordon, by the way, responded, said that the call at Pocono was similar to one he made at Las Vegas against the 2 earlier this year, when in that case, Keselowski was actually called for speeding on pit road. Gordon took to his Twitter account to apologize and said, quote, "My mistake comparing Keselowski's Las Vegas incident to today at Pocono, but NASCAR called down pit road to fix issue, not me." So he admitted to the fact that he had equated the two and they weren't really similar, but he wasn't wrong in the hip check. I saw the replay of the hip check, and it did. It created a humongous dent in that car.
Oh, yeah. And exactly what he needed.
And it
needed to have something.
Yeah, exactly. It flared out the fender just enough to where it kind of went, created a different airflow around that back tire.
Mm-hmm. And that's... Jeff's going to get some... He's going to get better.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
but you gotta think.
He's just started, and he's got a ways. Yeah. I will say this: he's got a ways to go. He's not on the level, and I understand that Darrell Waltrip is not everybody's favorite, but Darrell Waltrip has had 15 years to polish everything up, and he is better than what he was in 2001.
He still needs to do some more polishing, but
don't we all?
We all do. But Jeff Gordon,
I think the only guy that doesn't is Mike Joy.
Mike Joy is just perfect.
Mike Joy could wake up and fall out of bed and do it.
Yeah, exactly. But for Gordon, he's not. It's new for him. It's new territory. I think I called him out a couple weeks ago, one of the races online as well. I'm like, hey, there are other cars besides the 48 on the track.
Right.
The 48's running in 40th position, but let's go back and cover him for a minute.
Well, and for that matter, we could obviously say that there are more teams out there than just Hendrick Motorsports.
There are.
And I would like to hear him comment more on that. I understand he knows the most about that shop, having just stepped away from it. But, hey, there are other drivers and there are other teams out there. Go talk about that.
Well, when you've got 1, 2, and 3, battling for a top spot, they're 3 wide, and it's a great race going on. You go back to follow the 48, who's a lap down. That's where it's kind of like, okay, well, Jeff got a chance to talk about the 48. Okay, let's go back to the action.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But, I mean, it'll get better. He's been with Hendrick. Yeah, he's been in the garage, but he knows more about that team. You said that a minute ago. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast right now as he learns.
It's a broadcasting thing. You've done it. John's done it. I've done it all throughout the course of time. You go with your strengths. You fall back on what it is that you feel most comfortable with. For Jeff Gordon, it's talking about Hendrick Motorsports. That will ease over time simply as he gets more comfortable talking more about the other teams, and the other teams open up to him because he has now separated himself out. In other words, they're not afraid that Team Penske is going to tell him something that he can put out on the air. They're not worried now that he's going to immediately run to his friends at Hendrick Motorsports and say, oh, by the way, Team Penske's doing this.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of the, not the fans or the drivers, I mean, they know Jeff's in that position now, but I wouldn't see him doing anything like that. But, Brad Keselowski.
But you still have to build that trust up.
You do. But for Brad Keselowski to go and basically berate Jeff Gordon, a 4-time champion.
Yeah.
Hello, you're a moron.
Yeah. You're a one-time champion who doesn't have anywhere near the resume that Jeff Gordon does.
And that's the thing
you got a long way to go, Bubba.
That's the thing about Brad Keselowski is the fact that he goes in there, he gets that championship, basically, and then he just falls off. Yeah, he's come back a little bit over the past 2 seasons, but he's not spectacular.
No.
Maybe he needs to hip check that wheel a little bit. Maybe that'll help him out.
Maybe he needs to hip check his pit crew members.
Maybe he needs to hip check his entire mantra.
A few weeks ago, we had the chance to talk about Haas F1 team driver Romain Grosjean. He said that there was a chance that he might get into a Sprint Cup Series race later this year, maybe at one of the road course events. He's now come back and said that seems unlikely, at least for this season. Says he wants to get some experience in a stock car, but insists that it would only be at a road course event. It's what he's familiar with in Formula One. The only one that works into a schedule this year is the Watkins Glen International race on August 7th, though that falls into the off month for Formula One. Most of us would say that, well, seems to make sense that you would then go and run it.
It would make sense.
Grosjean says it's going to take away time from his family. I can also understand that.
Understandable, yes.
So Grosjean said that he feels that a more realistic chance for him to drive in a Sprint Cup Series race would happen next season. He plans to join his boss, Gene Haas, at 2 Sprint Cup events later on this year when they are in this area for the Austin race down in Texas. He's also going to take in the October 16th Kansas race that'll happen the week before. And then the season finale weekend at Homestead, Miami, he will be there because Formula One will have their season taken care of by that time. Grosjean adds that he and Gene Haas have said that they're going to get him in a Sprint Cup car over the winter. They're going to do some testing, and it will, he said, quote, definitely be put on the calendar for 2017.
I'm excited.
Odd to see him in a Sprint Cup car, though.
It will, but, if he goes out there and does extremely well, I mean, hey.
You never know. He has also said, and I understand we're not in Formula One news, but I didn't include this on the rundown. I'm just going to mention it here. We had talked some time back, Gene Haas had said that if anybody wanted to move up onto a bigger team, i.e. Ferrari, he wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
Grosjean has admitted he's got his eye on Ferrari. If Kimi Räikkönen does step out of that Ferrari car at the end of this season, he wouldn't mind stepping up into it. And you know what? He'd be a darn good candidate for it.
He would, but
I don't know whether he would be their first choice.
I would hope that he wouldn't.
I'd like him to stay there because I think he's at a place right now where he can help Haas F1 overcome its growing pains.
Well, and not just that, but he could help Haas F1 move up and really make an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already made an impact this year.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the way he's been running and everything else. You know, the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
That's true.
So you might go over to Ferrari thinking you're going to get all this great stuff's going to happen, and it goes downhill while you watch somebody else scoop in on your old ride and go above you.
Yep, could happen. Back to NASCAR and dropping down to the Xfinity Series. Richard Childress Racing expanded their Xfinity Series roster of drivers by 4, with word that all are going to share time on a quasi-rotating basis in the number 2 Chevrolet Camaro. Crew Chief Danny Stockman is going to call the shots for all the drivers regardless of who it is. One of them is a Camping World Truck Series driver, Ben Kennedy, going to get some seat time in the secondary series. He will run the number 2 at least at Iowa Speedway next weekend. That'll step him up again. He's running for points in the Camping World Truck Series, so I can't call this moonlighting because he's actually stepping up a series.
Yeah.
So good on him.
Yeah.
Also running for RCR later this season, former Sprint Cup Series racer Sam Hornish Jr. He finally found a seat, at least for a couple of events. Slated to pilot the number 2 for the second Iowa Speedway race. That's July 30th. And then again at Kentucky Speedway, September the 24th. And then here comes the Moonlighters. A.J. Allmendinger set to moonlight from the Sprint Cup Series to run the road course race at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course August 13th. Michael McDowell, who runs for Levine Circle Sport Family Racing, if I got that right, he's also going to become a moonlighter in the 2 at Road America, the road course event on August the 27th. So I know that A.J. Allmendinger is a whiz at road courses.
He is.
He's going to be somebody to contend with at that race.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I guarantee it.
That's going to be that number 2 is going to be the car to be looking at when we get there.
Yep. Coming up here in just a couple of more weeks, it's all going to switch from Fox coverage to NBC coverage for NASCAR, and NBC Sports and NASCAR have worked together. They're actually changing the schedule for 2 races later this year. NASCAR and the network, which takes over televising races beginning with the Daytona weekend in early July, have worked with NASCAR, and the Kansas race, October 15th, going to get time on NBC itself. It'll start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. The second to last race of the season, which is November 12th at Phoenix International Raceway, is going to air on the NBC Sports Network, but they're going to put it in prime time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central start time for that. So they'll probably get at least some time under the lights out in Phoenix there towards the end of that race.
Nice.
Matt Crafton, the 2-time defending Camping World Truck Series champion that, so close last night, but ends up finishing second, says he's actually hoping for a driver's council, similar to what you would find in the Sprint Cup Series, but he shouldn't hold his breath. Crafton said earlier this week he felt all 3 of NASCAR's top series should have such a panel for driver input, telling NBC Sports that he has not had any talks about it with NASCAR, but added, quote, "I wish they would talk to us. There's a whole lot of drivers in this series that they're probably going to listen to because they haven't been here long enough to listen to them." What?
I'm confused.
There's a whole lot of drivers that they should listen to, but they're not going to listen to them because they haven't been here long enough for them to listen to.
Well, they haven't been there long enough.
Why would you listen to somebody who hasn't been there long enough for you to really want to listen to them?
That'd be like me going out on a weekend and saying, okay, I'm a driver. This is my first weekend. You need to listen to me. I don't think so. You need to go away.
This is going to be like me doing this. Brian France, got some ideas. Who the heck are you?
He look at you and go, yeah, I don't have time for you.
Yeah, really.
But you have time to kill the sport,
right.
but you don't have time for me.
Exactly. NASCAR, by the way, hasn't commented on the idea of a driver's council in any of their series beyond Sprint Cup, which tells me it's not going to happen.
That does make sense, though. I do agree to the fact that maybe those veteran drivers, like Matt Crafton,
Johnny Sauter.
Johnny Sauter, those kinds of guys. I mean, even if Ron Hornaday Jr. was in, there's a guy that definitely should be on the panel.
Former champion. I mean, if they set it up the way that it is at the Sprint Cup Series level where you have former champions in there, you could still do it. You could, I don't know, how do you want to call it? Grandfather him in?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to put it that way, you know?
But, I mean, that would be ideal because, the Sprint Cup Series, they have their drivers' council. There's no drivers from the Xfinity Series, veterans. There's no drivers from the Truck Series.
Sadler.
But, I mean, that's the thing. You could bring some guys in.
There are people that
really
you could bring in to do
things.
that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to see the truck the Truck Series change at all. I mean, I think the Truck Series is great.
Not wildly, but it's
still good to have input.
I think, it would be good to have input from the drivers who might be able to tell you, hey, listen, there's this thing that we've noticed that maybe we could improve upon. Why don't we take a look at this?
Yeah. So I agree. I like the idea to see, maybe a Truck Series driver on the council. Instead of it just being a Sprint Cup drivers council or anything like that, they could actually make it a NASCAR drivers council.
Maybe expand out the council. Just
bring in
the
somebody.
end, bring up maybe 2 Xfinity and a couple of Camping World Truck Series.
I'd say bring 2 Camping World Truck Series drivers up, bring 2 Xfinity Series drivers up.
Yeah.
Let them bring in some knowledge and let them bring in some ideas and thoughts. It's not going to hurt anything.
I like it. Night racing has been something that a lot of people have been asking about at different facilities. We've even heard people ask about it at Talladega.
I wish.
By the way, don't hold your breath on that one
Never
either.
happening.
Meantime, how about this weekend's track? Xfinity and Cup Series, could we see night racing there? According to Michigan International Speedway track president Roger Curtis, nope, not in the cards. Curtis recently talked to media. He ruled out plans for installing any lights at the 2-mile-long deep-shaped oval. He said that he believes that race fans that come to the facility actually prefer daytime racing events. Putting up lights to fully illuminate the facility would cost approximately $17 million for the track and the tram routes from the facility to the outermost parking lots. Plus, according to Curtis, the state would have to pay to light up US 12, which gets you from the track to nearby Clinton, Michigan, which Curtis said that he didn't see the Michigan State Department of Transportation doing, so he's going to concentrate instead on taking that money for other improvements for the fan experience.
Some tracks are not tracks that you should have lights on.
And Michigan International Speedway is pretty far out there.
It is, and
I mean, we go out to Talladega and we say, okay, it's not near anything. But when you look at Speedway Boulevard, it's a nice wide road that gets you east and west. It's relatively easy in and out to get in and out of Talladega. You don't need all the lights on Speedway Boulevard, for example. On a US 12, which by and large, from what I can tell, is a fairly small road to go to a pretty small town in Clinton, Michigan. Find Clinton, Michigan on a map quickly, would you?
I got Google Maps.
Yeah, really. That'd be about the fastest way to do it. That tells me that this is not like going to Detroit.
It's not. Well, and like I said, there's tracks that don't need lights. No. Michigan is that track that you want to see it during the daytime.
Sure.
It's beautiful.
And the weather's great racing. The weather's not going to be all that intemperate either. I mean, they're running in June. And they're going to run their next event in July. The weather's not going to be like it is if we ran a July race at Talladega.
Yeah, it's not.
If we were still running July races at Talladega, I think you'd probably hear a lot more call for lights at Talladega.
That would be pretty cool. I would love. We've seen it. You know what? We personally saw a night race at Talladega.
Yes, we have.
When you can't see any car but Kurt Busch's yellow and pink car on the other side of the track. That's night racing.
That
folks.
was the honorarium to Country Time Lemonade, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's when he was running that Neil Bonnet scheme, and we were trying to follow them around the track.
It could have been
all you could see was his car.
It could have been pitch black, save for moonlight. We still could have told you where Kyle Busch was.
Yeah. Well, and we were commenting about looking up, like, man, the cameras are really bright, but it is dark out there.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. From one fan experience to another, Big Haas is about to get bigger.
Oh, God.
No timetable's been given, but the world's largest television, it's in the Guinness Book of World Record as such. Along the back stretch at Texas Motor Speedway is about to grow. Panasonic and the track working on a plan that's going to add almost 2,100 more square feet of screen area. It'll allow a ribbon-style crawl along the bottom of the screen that'll keep your lap count, the running order, and other information related to the race. So whether it's NASCAR or IndyCar. When complete, the total viewing area of Big Haas stretches out to a grand total of 22,704 square feet. By the way, because of that, the scoring pylons in turns 1 and 4 are going to be gone.
I figured it out. I know why they're making it bigger.
Why?
Because the guys on the International Space Station want to watch the race.
Yeah.
So they want to look down.
By the time all is said and done, Big Haas will be approximately the size of half an acre of land.
Oh, my gosh.
We'll be back.
Let's face it, it's always been hard to kick the smoking habit until now. Don't wait to take the next step of pulling away from the pack. Experience the healthier alternative of smoking by vaping with Wild Vapors. Whether you're taking the turn or coming along in the straightaway, it's time to hit the deep brakes on cigarettes and turn into Wild Vapors. Wild Vapors is known for their signature formula for their own brands. They only use the purest vaping juice on the circuit without sucralose or diacetyl. Stop filling up your tank with the wrong fuel and swap to the healthier, cleaner solution through Wild Vapors. The crew at Wild Vapors is there to answer your questions and concerns about vaping. They're the reliable team you need as your pit crew when taking the turn towards the healthier alternative to cigarettes. They offer a full line of vaping supplies and guidance to help you quit cigarettes without falling off the track. Make sure you miss the big one by ditching the cigarettes and stop in at Wild Vapors. Find the healthier alternative to smoking. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors of Sylacauga today. 256-369-2569. Find them in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Tony Stewart wins the Cobalt Tools 400.
This is Tony Stewart here to tell you about a way veterans and service members can get on the fast track for well-deserved benefits. It's called eBenefits, a website created by VA and DoD that gives veterans, service members, and families instant access to more than 40 benefits and services. It's a way to serve those who have served us. To get started, just go to www.ebenefits.va.gov or just do a search for VA eBenefits.
Brought to you by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
The only show that covers NASCAR, Indycar, and Formula One. The fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Hey, welcome back in. Listening to the fastest hour in radio. 1/3 of the show left to go and a lot to get to.
Woo!
By the way, a lot of people have been talking about this, that you can't buy a Toyota Camry that looks or runs anything like what you get out on a NASCAR track. For example, they don't even offer a V8 in a Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
I can get you a Toyota V8 Camry.
How?
It mimics what you see on the Cup circuit, and if you're willing to pay the price, you could. It's called the NASCAR Edition Camry, a 2010 Toyota Camry. It's up for sale on eBay right now. 358 cubic inch V8 under the hood, turning out just shy of 700 horsepower.
Wait, the NASCAR Edition Camry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. Toyota's listening to the show because we just talked about this 2 weeks ago. It'd be great to have a car. We were talking about the different models.
I wish I could say that it was Toyota. This car was specially built by RK Motors for the 2010 SEMA show out in Las Vegas. They stuck in the V8 motor, a 6-speed manual transmission, a roll cage, and a grand total of 17 miles on the odometer. It has air conditioning, leather interior, high-end sound system, and a special paint scheme. At last check, the bidding site had it listed as a buy-it-now price of $159,900.
Yeah. No.
Right. Maybe you would prefer an old Jeff Gordon replica car?
I could do with that.
Vintage car dealer in Columbus, Ohio, named Cruisin' Classics has a 2000 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS Jeff Gordon edition on the lot. This one is number 17 of the 24 of these that were built that year. Description on the site states this, quote, only 24 examples of this number 24 Monte Carlo, which was designed and modified by Jeff Gordon Chevrolet in Wilmington, North Carolina, were produced to celebrate the career of NASCAR great Jeff Gordon. As the winner of 3, at that time, Winston Cup championships before 2000, Gordon was already a very well-respected driver with an ever-growing fan base. The car shows a grand total of 1,017 miles on the odometer. It's a 16-year-old car, remember. Site claims it has never been driven in the rain. It comes fully loaded with all the options available on the 2000 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. All resemble the famed rainbow paint scheme, as well as the well-known number 24 in the car on several places, like the front bumper, on the sunroof, and also embroidered into the seats and on the dashboard. Yeah, you're going to have to call. The ad does not list a price.
Yeah, because it's going to be a lot more.
John and I were talking about this. You came up finally with an idea, a round figure number that you thought this car might go for, John?
It's a wide range, but somewhere between 50 and 75K.
You agree with that?
I think a little bit more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking about
being 17 to 24. You may be onto something.
I'm thinking more towards maybe pushing 100K, just to the fact 24 cars were made.
Yeah.
One.
Only 24 of these.
It's a Jeff Gordon edition. It was
from
modified.
Jeff
Gordon Chevrolet. You know, all the extensive stuff that's been done to it. Plus, it's only got 1,017 miles on it.
And he is now retired.
Yes.
It's
he's
kind of
now
like
retired.
owning the Jeff Gordon rookie card, so to speak. You know?
And it will gain an additional $20K once he makes the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
So you're looking at that price continuing to go up. And if you can get him to sign it.
Whew. Yeah.
Sign a dashboard, clear coat that thing, cut, print, check the tape.
There you go. Over to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Host of this past weekend's Detroit Belle Isle Grand Prix doubleheader weekend. Belle Isle, just outside of downtown Detroit, going to be back next year on the Verizon IndyCar Series schedule, according to course officials. Bud Danker, who's the chairman of the race itself, said the doubleheader event will be back again the weekend following the Indy 500 next year. So that means it'll run the weekend of June 2nd through the 4th. Detroit has become the weekend after the Indy 500 and has been that way each year since 2012. It's also been a doubleheader weekend each year since 2013. I kind of like that. It separates them out a little bit from everybody else.
I got to agree on that one.
Good stuff.
Yes.
AutoWeek.com reporting the organizers of the now defunct Grand Prix of Boston welching on a guarantee. The report states the race organizers have promised a full refund to early ticket purchasers should something cause the race not to happen. But as of this time, they have yet to refund 1 red cent to one fan of their ticket price.
Go figure.
A report in the Boston Globe states the organizers are insisting they want to refund those prices, but they are out of money at this time and attempting to raise enough funds to fulfill said guarantee. Where are you raising money for a defunct race?
What moron is going to give you money for a race that ain't going to happen?
That's what I want to know.
Hey, we wanted to have this great race, and we'd love for you to jump in. Well, isn't the race done? Well, yeah, but we
promised to pay back people.
Yeah, we got to pay people back.
Well, you're going to pay us back.
So what do you want me to give you money so you can pay the people that got screwed over?
Good luck.
Yeah. Good.
Spokesman for the organizers did put out a statement that read in part, quote, Boston Grand Prix regrets any inconvenience to its ticket holders due to the cancellation of the 2016 race, which resulted from circumstances beyond the company's control. Refunding ticket holders is a first priority for BGP, Boston Grand Prix, and the company is working diligently with all parties involved to provide refunds. As funds become available, they'll be forwarded for the processing of refunds.
If that isn't just the biggest line of crap I've ever heard. I mean, that was so eloquently written. Regrets any inconvenience. They're going to inconvenience you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm thinking suits.
Yes, lawsuits, multiple.
During over into Formula One, during first practice for this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, officials had to reprimand the Red Bull Racing driver Max Verstappen.
Uh-oh.
Verstappen was cited for blocking Valtteri Bottas, who the reports state had to make an evasive maneuver on the final chicane of the course, locked up his front tires, therefore pushed right through the chicane. Officials looked at the tape. They blamed Verstappen for what they called a rolling roadblock. It was the first reprimand of the season for Verstappen. If you get 3 such reprimands, the next time around, you have a 10 grid spot penalty following your qualifying. So there's 1.
He's still got 2 more.
Let's see whether he gets those other 2.
I want to be a rolling roadblock.
He was a rolling roadblock. Officials over at McLaren have announced they're not yet looking ahead to 2017, which means they're not yet considering who's going to be driving their racers next season either. Racing director Eric Boullier recently asked if they were looking ahead, considering their future. He replied, too much consideration of the 2017 driver lineup could become a distraction. Fernando Alonso has a contract with McLaren that runs through next season, but Jenson Button's contract ends after this season, and he has recently been linked via rumor over to Williams, which is the team he began his Formula One career with back in 2000. Boullier was asked whether it was intentional not to talk about the 2017 lineup in order to keep his drivers on top of things on the track this year. He replied, quote, exactly. It's part of the game. This isn't a game. This is their livelihood.
Yeah. This is their career.
Button actually deflected the subject himself, though, when he was asked about it at the Monaco Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. Quote, I have not thought about the Canadian Grand Prix yet, let alone next year. That's all I have for you. Fernando Alonso, meanwhile, has hinted that he may be about done in Formula One, said that he will wait to see how the 2017 rules package affects the racers before he ultimately makes up his mind about racing again next year. He was recently featured on the cover of Motorsport magazine in Europe with the headline, quote, I want to win the Indy 500 and Le Mans. He's actually might have the right avenue to make that possible should he decide not to continue in Formula One. Seems that multiple racing series team owner Chip Ganassi, who owns racing teams in the Verizon IndyCar series and now a set of new Ford GTs to run at Le Mans later on this year. Yeah, a fan noted the magazine cover sent a tweet to Ganassi and said, quote, come on, Chip, make it happen. Ganassi responded by tweeting, quote, send him my email, phone number, and Twitter handle. and ended it with the hashtag I like winners. We'll keep you updated if anything happens on that.
Chip Ganassi's a cool guy.
He is.
He is.
And if you have the opportunity to get a talent like a Fernando Alonso,
you don't turn that down.
I'm going, man. I'm like, yeah. Where do I sign up?
But I mean, going back through this, and that's the one thing that I hate about the media with the sports is the fact that they're always looking forward to next year when the drivers are supposed to be focusing on what's going on right now. They're supposed to be focusing on qualifying, but you're talking about something that could be, how do you feel that the aero package is going to affect this race next year?
Sure.
Like I care.
I don't
right
care.
Now? Why don't you ask me how I laid down that really fast, hot lap right there just a minute ago?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I understand silly season, and I understand that there are a lot of people out there that are trying to drum up rumors, some of them making it up on the fly and being stupid about it. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago.
We called them out. You have to listen to that show.
But here's the thing. Silly season is one thing. Understand, these drivers are still going out there and trying to do the best they can this year.
Yeah, they don't need to worry about what's going on next year. They don't need to worry about packages.
Very few, if any, drivers at this point in time in any year of any particular series, save maybe FIA Formula E, which has their last weekend coming up here in their next race 2 or 3 weeks from now. I forget which. Very few drivers have given up on their season because we're not even midway through on the vast majority of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the end of the season coming up or whatever the case may be. Leave some stuff for the preseason, all the stuff leading up to it, because then you're so burnt out on trying to figure things out that then you spend all the time actually fixing all the crap that you wasted time on.
I'll be real honest with you. Here on this show, we could waste the entire 90 minutes talking about rumors that people make up.
We could do a what-if show.
I'm not going to do that. No. I'm going to, if I come across something that I think has some credibility to it or is just so stupidly outlandish that we need to call them out, hence a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to mention it. But otherwise, the rumor mill's the rumor mill.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we've had drivers on here. We've Joey Jatina, Bob Massey. We've had plenty of drivers from short track come out here. Jay Schiller. Mm-hmm. We've had Cruz Skinner. We've had late model Mark out here in studio. Sure. Mike Combs. We've had a lot of great guys, but we never asked them about next year.
No,
we asked them about last year.
Sure.
What did you do from last year to this year that you felt maybe made you a little bit better, say, from that race that you had? You were really frustrated and flustered. How did you change coming into this season? Those are things you should ask.
Yeah.
But you should not be asking any driver, no matter what series they're in, well, what are you doing for dinner next week? Hey, how about that tire coming up in 4 months at, Miami Homestead?
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
They don't. They're not worried about that right now.
Concentrate on what's going on the track this weekend. Get the guys the exposure. Let them talk about their sponsors. Do all that good stuff. Let them have their moment to do their career.
The business of Formula One continues as they have signed a deal with a beer maker, Heineken. After several months of being an open secret, Formula One and Formula One management held a press conference and announced the first official race for the partnership with Heineken would be the upcoming Italian Grand Prix. The deal does not put the company on any of the cars, but they're going to be highly visible at all the courses through signage. Well, at all courses except for Abu Dhabi, where sales and advertising of alcohol is illegal.
Yeah, definitely.
Plus, it also secures the naming rights for the Italian Grand Prix and a deal that runs through 2020. Congratulations out to Claire Williams. Claire Williams, the deputy team principal of the Williams Formula One team. She was included on the birthday honors list of Queen Elizabeth II. That means that she is now officially set to be awarded as OBE, Order of the British Empire.
Aha.
Williams is the daughter of Sir Frank Williams, who was honored previously for his work within Formula One, and now Claire is soon to be officially entitled Lady Claire Williams, honored for her same work within the same sport. Order of the British Empire, an honor handed out to a number of people annually at the Queen's discretion.
There's some really neat names on that list, too.
It's cool stuff. Really is. Next weekend, when Formula One drivers hit the Baku course for the first ever Grand Prix of Europe and Azerbaijan, Gene Haas is set to bring a member of the Stewart-Haas NASCAR racing organization with him. And it ain't going to be his NASCAR team co-owner, Tony Stewart, either.
Really?
It's going to be the driver he hired, Kurt Busch. Busch talked about the field trip. Couldn't figure out another way to talk about it. With his boss while he was at Michigan yesterday, said that he could not wait to hang out with his Haas F1 drivers, Romain Grosjean and Esteban Gutierrez. Said that he would also like to test a Formula One car. Gene Haas has said nothing about whether he would allow Busch, who was a 2004 Cup Series champion, to get behind the wheel of one of his Formula One racers. But you know what? I can understand the attraction to it.
Oh, yeah. I do love the field trip thing, though.
And he would be, as to the best of my knowledge, he would be only the third driver to get the chance to do it. I mean, I understand Juan Pablo Montoya, but he was a Formula One driver before he came to NASCAR.
Yeah, so he's negated.
So I don't
You're cut
count
off.
that.
Yeah.
But while he was a Formula One driver, he and Jeff Gordon switched rides for a day.
Yeah.
And then Tony Stewart and Lewis Hamilton switched cars for a day.
That'd be great. Kurt Busch and Roman Grosjean switched for a day.
It would be kind of cool.
I mean, we're talking about Roman coming over and
it'd get him a little time in a Sprint Cup car.
Yeah, give him a chance to just kind of feel it out a little bit.
I think we figured it out.
Look, see, we're ahead of this already.
That's right. By the way, we're not starting a rumor. We're just kind of spitballing.
We're just putting the information out there.
Could kind of be a cool thing.
Do what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
But we're not saying, hey, Kurt Busch and Roman Grosjean are switching completely, and now Kurt Busch is going to Formula One. We're not doing anything like that.
And we're certainly not asserting that Roman Grosjean is going to become a Sprint Cup Series driver. Good grief. NHRA, and this is probably one of the first ones. They've already released their 2017 Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series schedule.
This is early.
Yeah, it is. 24 events in total. The season going to kick off and finish just like this year at Auto Club Speedway in Pomona, California. They'll get everything underway the weekend of February 9th through the 12th, the final weekend of the year of racing being November 9th through the 12th. I compared this year's racing to next year's racing. Not really a whole lot of changes, so they're pretty solid there, which means that's a good thing for the NHRA. They're solid with all the courses that they run on, and that's why they felt comfortable enough to go ahead and put out the schedule for next year now when we're barely or really not even halfway through the 2016 calendar year.
I do like the fact of the one line of this, and that is the season will kick off and finish at Auto Club Speedway.
Yes.
I like it. It kicks off at one place, and it ends at that place.
At exactly the
The
same
race
place.
ends back where you started.
The question would be, would that work in NASCAR where we start at Daytona?
We could simply switch the Miami Homestead weekend with the Daytona July race, and there you go.
What would that mean for Talladega? You don't want two restrictor plate races in the chase, do you?
I think that would be a great way to end the season.
A double back-to-back restrictor plate?
I love it. Whew. You want to talk about having to overcome some obstacles? Yeah.
You and I have talked about obstacles when it came to the chase before, and I don't have a problem putting obstacles in there. I think we need to have a representative of just about every track that we have on the circuit.
We are complete agreement of that.
Which means road course,
road course.
Michigan or California, probably California, truth be told, just because of the time of the year that we would be into October and November.
Yes.
So one of those, maybe think about Pocono. It would have to be early in the chase. Again, weather considerations in all likelihood. Get something out there that represents all the different shapes, sizes of the track.
Yeah.
I think one restrictor plate race is just fine, and I'm happy that it's at Talladega.
I love it at Talladega, but that would be one heck of a way to end the season, wouldn't it?
There was a time, and this is no disrespect to the Daytona 500. It's not all that long ago. It was about a little more than 30 years ago, that the NASCAR Sprint Cup season, what was then the Winston Cup season, they didn't start at Daytona. They started at Riverside, California on the road course out there.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that I think about, and I go, man, could we take a clue from the past?
Well, I mean, you think about the fact that when you think of NASCAR, you think of that one home.
Yeah.
The home being
Daytona.
So
I don't think it lessens the Daytona 500 any if you don't start the season off there. Does it lessen the Indy 500 that it takes them 3 months to get there?
No. But I think it's just become so ingrained in I mean, they go, everybody else has their Super Bowl at the end of the season. NASCAR starts theirs with the Super Bowl.
I know.
But, I mean, think about it.
And I don't have a problem with them starting it there. I think that it would be a bad mistake for them to end there.
You know a great place they could start? Rockingham. Just saying.
I'd be up for that.
North Wilkesboro. Just saying.
A lot. Have you seen pictures of North Wilkesboro lately?
The place looks despicable. I'm appalled at how that track looks.
I weep when I see those pictures because it has been absolutely neglected. The signage still says Winston Cup Series on it.
I know. That's
how old it is.
There was somebody that took he went out and did pictures, and then he did one of those drone flyovers.
Yeah.
So he took the little drone. I mean, that place looks horrible.
The asphalt is cracked apart. The stands are falling apart. Half of the signage on the back of the tower where it says Winston Cup Series, half that signage
half
is
of that's
gone.
ripped down.
God, I feel for that place. I really do, and I feel for the people that live around there because that right there was the cornerstone for them. They made that city probably made their city's budget when NASCAR showed up.
We see it every year. Every single race weekend at Talladega.
Absolutely.
We see all the people around there. I mean, I think you were telling me that story. Yeah, it was. You were telling me about the story about the one guy who basically charged everybody to park on his property, and then he went and bought a house cash money.
Yeah, the first couple of times, we'll get back into the news here in just a second. Just quick aside here.
Yeah, I love these tangents.
My wife and I, when we first started seeing each other, we started going to races with some friends of hers.
Right.
And we would sit up practically right below the tower that you and I sit in right now because we were right on the start-finish line. But we parked just outside of, it was almost a straight shot to get to our seats where the start-finish line is. So you walk out, you go through the fence. There's a purposeful hole in the fence that was built there to allow people to do that. And all of the people that are around there, unless they're just don't want money, they allow people to park in their yards.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as this place, Talladega Superspeedway, was built, this guy in this house realized, you know what, I've got something here. He didn't charge a whole lot of money. He just kept saving the money that he got from parking fees for RVs and for cars and pickup trucks over the course of time.
Right.
And he just kept socking that money away. And soon enough, he had enough money to pay cash to have his old house torn down and a brand new house built on that same spot.
See, and that's the type of thing at North Wilkesboro, Rockingham, all these tracks that have just kind of fallen by the wayside. I mean, you ask a normal person anymore, hey, what'd you think about them maybe going back to the Rock, to the Rock? To where?
Yeah.
No,
People
you
go
are
where?
not a NASCAR fan if you don't know some of these names.
The Rock? North Wilkesboro? Who?
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
It is, and it's really bad for the communities too. I mean, they suffer more than just the fans.
And we talked about this a couple of years ago when the city of Birmingham was deciding whether or not to sanction and help out Barber Motorsports Park with the Verizon IndyCar Series race. They were more than happy to help out Talladega, which is not in the city of Birmingham, by the way. Look on a map, City Council.
Yeah,
but they weren't going to help something to happen within their own city limits. Think of how much money that the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series brings in, and the Xfinity Series and the Camping World Truck Series, when those series are coming in with the Sprint Cup Series every weekend.
Tons.
That they come in twice a year.
Tons.
When the Verizon IndyCar Series and the Indy Lights Series and the Continental GT Sports Car Series comes to town on IndyCar weekend, Honda Barber Indy Grand Prix of Alabama weekend.
During our speed weeks?
Yeah, exactly. Think of how much money that brings in because people are coming in from all around the country. We've gone through the parking lots, just going from our own parking spot, going to wherever vantage point we were going to watch the race. We can sit there and we can click off. And I've seen Washington State. I've seen California. I've seen Montana.
I've Nevada.
Seen Texas. I've seen Nevada. I've seen Maine license plates there.
The states are represented well.
And this is why I like the fact that the NHRA has set their 2017 schedule in stone. That way all of these different courses can go, hey, listen, now you can make your plans for 2017. We already know we're running on this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's up. You can already make your plans for next year. It'd be great to see a lot more of the series do that.
Yep. The NHRA has announced a midseason rule change. It eliminates one set of fines. The competition committee for the series announced Wednesday they're eliminating all monetary fines related to oil down violations occurred during qualifying and time trial rounds. It's effective for all classes beginning this weekend, with the event being held at Englishtown in Jersey this weekend. The committee stated that though the oil down fines are going to continue to be enforced during eliminations, there is going to be still points penalties for every oil down violation for qualifying and elimination matches. What is an oil down violation, you may ask? Per the NHRA, it is any time that equipment needs to be used to clean up an oil spill from a race car. Now you know.
Now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe. Oh, man, that's just like, it flows. I did that without even thinking. Oh, God.
Yes. The Entertainment Roundtable strikes again.
Yes.
More on that in a moment.
Yeah.
Finally, how much do race car drivers get paid?
A bunch.
Okay. A lot of it does, by the way, depend upon what series you're running.
And how good you are.
That's also true. Forbes magazine has released their list of the top 100 paid athletes around the world. No sport, it doesn't matter what sport. If you're one of the top 100 paid athletes, they put you on the list. Yeah, I'm sure to no one's surprise here, if you've been listening to the show, the top paid driver, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
$46 million with his Mercedes contract, along with bonuses and endorsements in 2015, which was good enough for 11th on the list. By the way, all the top 10, they made $50 million or more.
Jeez.
We'll get back to that in a minute. Who was second? Formula One driver Sebastian Vettel. He came in 19th. He brought in $41 million.
19th?
19th.
$41 million.
Fernando Alonso is next, $36.5 million. Good enough for 24th.
Wow.
Then you have to drop way down.
Way down.
71st. NASCAR's most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., $23.5 million. That's $13 million less than the Formula One driver we just mentioned.
Yeah, but that's still a nice chunk of change.
I'm not going to sneeze at it.
I would not either. Heck, you could take one of the numbers off and just go to 1 million. I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Johnson was 82nd. He took home $22.2 million. It's not too bad.
That's a little weird, though, for Jimmy Johnson, though.
Yep.
I mean, to have that much, you really would think that he would be above Junior.
You'd think,
but Junior has more money because of the fact that
sponsors,
the sponsors and the fans and everything else.
Exactly.
But Johnson just really thought by now would be a little bit more.
All right. Don't read ahead.
Oh, okay.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Just close it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's closed.
Okay.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Nico Rosberg.
Right.
And how he wants the contract that's much more in line with what Lewis Hamilton's making.
Right.
Nico Rosberg is on the list, the final racer in the top 100. Nico Rosberg, 98th on the list.
98th.
98th on the list. Remembering that Jimmy Johnson was 82nd at $22.2 million. How much do you think Nico Rosberg is bringing home?
Not much over 10 million.
Oh, no. It's not actually much under what Jimmy Johnson makes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
okay.
21 million.
Wow.
But Lewis Hamilton's making 25 million more annually than he is.
Now that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that. You know, he should be on par to be making that type of money.
Yeah. All right. So
I'd be a little upset too with a $25 million difference.
Yeah, really. All right. So here we go. John, come in on this. Top paid athlete in the world. All the top 10 making $50 million or more. In the world, who do you think it could be? Or at least what sport do you think they play?
Well, it's got to be football.
No.
As in the NFL or
NFL.
soccer?
Well, NFL.
You're going NFL.
No, you're
you
wrong.
say no.
No.
Okay?
Okay.
You say what?
I'm trying to think.
I hate trying to think of this on the fly.
Boxing.
Boxing.
You're
both wrong. Soccer.
European football.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
I knew it wasn't NFL.
Trailed by Lionel Messi, another soccer player. Cristiano Ronaldo tallied $88 million for kicking a round ball last
Kicking
year.
a black and white ball around a field.
Does this include all his endorsements?
It does. His endorsements, his bonuses, and his salary, he raked in $88 million.
Who's the other guy I'm thinking of?
Lionel Messi, not too far behind. Top American, quote-unquote, sport player, NBA basketball player, LeBron James.
That was going to be my next guess, was probably going to be LeBron.
Yep. He was third. Tennis player Roger Federer, fourth. And Oklahoma City Thunder basketball player Kevin Durant was fifth.
See, I was thinking of, when you said soccer, I was thinking of Beckham, David Beckham.
David Beckham's actually been retired for a while.
Yeah, I know. But is this like all time or is this active?
No, this was 2015 alone.
Oh, okay. Then that makes sense then.
$88 million for kicking a soccer ball in 1 year.
We are officially in the wrong
and
business.
Drinking Gatorade.
And drinking Gatorade.
And drinking Gatorade. Win from within.
Yes.
Wearing Nikes.
Should have really pressed Dad to gotten into racing when I was much younger.
Yeah.
The end of the show brought to you in part by Gatorade.
Yeah.
Where you want to make $88 million, drink Gatorade. Win
Please.
From within.
Hey, Gatorade, you listening?
We just gave you a free plug.
That's right. All right. We've wrapped everything up. By the way, next week, we're going to still be here doing this show from 7 a.m. until 8:30, and then we're going to take the 30-minute break that we're about to take right now. 9 o'clock, live entertainment roundtable.
I love that.
Woo-hoo. Looking forward to
About
it.
time.
Both of them are. Matter of fact, both of them probably will be part of the show next week.
Yes.
So hopefully you'll join us next week. Whole lot of live stuff for me. I got to get used to this seat.
Yes, you do.
I hope I can. Meantime, hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. May God bless you and may God bless these United States of America.
See ya!